Welcome to the Waymaker Men's Summit panel discussion on the impact of driving change, innovating in startups and philanthropy. Today, we have two dynamic leaders at the forefront of innovation and social impact. First, Everette Taylor, CEO of Kickstarter, the world's leading crowdfunding platform for creative projects. Joining him is Justin Bayless, founder and president of Journey Venture Studio, a not-for-profit dedicated to launching healthcare companies led by underrepresented founders. As CEO of 10 Figures, Justin brings his deep expertise from investment banking at Morgan Stanley and a passion for solving complex problems in underserved communities. Together, they'll explore the power of innovation and philanthropy in driving meaningful change.
What's up, man?
Welcome to Waymakers.
I appreciate you.
Absolutely,
brother.
First, we gotta talk about the book, The Journey to 10 Figures.
Sure.
A lot of us are talking about 6 figures, if we can get that. You're talking about 10 figures. What was the inspiration behind the work?
Yeah, man. Well, first and foremost, it's a beautiful thing to see all these brothers in one room, trying to better themselves and empower themselves. So really happy to be here. Growing up, I think in a middle-class family, I was inspired to work really hard and get a good education and one day become a millionaire. And I think a lot of us in our community ultimately have had that thought process. And what I'm trying to do to pay it forward, similar to what's going on here at Waymaker, is to start to get us to think even bigger. And how do we build enterprises that can ultimately change the world? And so as you think about the journey to 10 figures is really a story about previous generations that had sacrifice in my family, and then my story of how, I built a large enterprise and had a successful exit of 9 figures. And now I'm trying to find the next generation that can then ultimately do better than I did.
You skipped mad steps. You went straight to 9 figures.
Yeah.
How do we end up in that space? What space were you working in, and walk through some of the characteristics that you needed to even put yourself in position to earn at that level?
Sure. So I think first and foremost, we're at a conference that has had a variety of different sectors and expertise. The third largest contributor to the American GDP is healthcare. As we look around this room today, we lag every major indicator in healthcare as Black men. Okay? In the world of capital, we receive about 0.5 percentage point of all the risk or venture capital that exists as well. Right? So whether you want to call it racism, you want to call it prejudice, or you want to call it just lack of representation, there's been a gap in that space. In any business or in any enterprise, when I talk to entrepreneurs, I always try to talk about, you've heard this philosophy of a blue ocean space or finding some path that no one else has charted before. And so what I've tried to do is build a enterprise, and now building an interconnected ecosystem that really focuses on solving those healthcare disparities with those closest to the problem. My story is specific around mental health. So my family was early in providing healthcare services to the community. My family had a small mom and pop mental health clinic, and I joined the company in 2008, and we became a pioneer in what you guys all know now as telemedicine, right? So before you could even think about getting on your phone and seeing a doctor in 2008, 2009, I was testing these technologies to provide care to folks who did not have access to that actual care. Over many, many years, that grew. COVID then came into the play, right? And it all kind of clicked. And at that time, I found an opportunity to expand our business across the country with a strategic partner, and sold at interest to a Fortune 500 company. And then 2 years after that, left the company and said, what am I to do with the rest of my life? Staying here, 38 years old, got a few kids, got a nice war chest, and immediately my thought was, how do I give back and create this story, but also a venture studio that now helps underrepresented founders build healthcare enterprises to solve those disparities I talked about.
Now, Everett, Justin is over here talking about access to healthcare, but access to capital.
Yeah.
There's also an issue for so many of us. Yeah, you have opportunities like Kickstarter that can help to kickstart those dreams and give us access to things that our communities normally wouldn't have. Can you talk about some of the biggest challenges that are facing the creator economy and how Kickstarter is helping folks address some of those issues?
Yeah, first of all, I'm not going to assume that everyone in the room knows what Kickstarter is. What's up, bro? How you? So Kickstarter, for those who don't know, is the largest crowdfunding company in the world for creative projects. Billions of dollars have been raised across the platform for anything that's creative. So whether you're, starting a film, whether you're starting a new product, tech product, a design product, fashion line, new shoes, games, comics, music, anything you can think of, people have raised money for on the platform, right? And it's not donation based. You might be familiar with platforms like GoFundMe, which is very donations based, like my grandma's sick, can I get some bread? That's not Kickstarter. Kickstarter is, I got an idea. No offense, no diss to GoFundMe, but we're in a different bag. And you have actual creative project, right? So some of the biggest brands that you may have heard of, like Peloton, Oculus, like the MetaQuest goggles, Oura Ring, all have started on Kickstarter. Issa Rae started her initial show on Kickstarter. So Spike Lee had raised, money for his film. So it's been an incredible place for creatives and entrepreneurs to be able to raise money and get capital, even if you already have capital. Like these white boys, bro, they're not spending their own money. So Kickstarter is a place where you can go out there and tap into your audience, your community, but also you have millions of people on Kickstarter right there that are willing to support new creative ideas. So that's what's Kickstarter. So I don't want to assume that y'all know what it is. And you said the challenges of getting capital. Like, the thing about capital right now is that, like, whether anyone is willing to admit it, we are in a recession-based economy right now. Like, people, it's weird, it's an election year, so people are playing different sides, but the truth of the matter is like, people ain't spending bands like they were during the 2020, 2021, and part of 2022. Like, we're in a different era. What happened was the money was flowing, like venture capital dollars was flowing. People had black guilt after George Floyd, so people was trying to support black, entrepreneurs and creatives, and then that shit just stopped in 2020, like towards the end of 2022. So the challenge right now is you can't depend on nobody. Ain't nobody gonna hand you out no money right now. So Kickstarter and platforms like that gives you an opportunity to put yourself, put it on your back and do it yourself, right? Like, tap into your own community, have an idea, pre-launch and sell a product before it's out there in the market, and raise that capital. Because right now the challenge is that the economy is tight, people aren't giving out those dollars, and it's the time where you gotta go and build profitable things yourself and raise capital for yourself.
I want to give
appreciate it, fellas.
I want to give people something that they can chew on as well, because throughout this conference, how many people were here for day one and day two? Okay, so y'all been here. People have been meeting each other. We've been networking laterally, talking, pitching ideas, all these different things. The thing that's fascinating to me about Kickstarter is you are pitching to your crowdfunding, but it's really just a pitch. It's a reverse VC concept, right? So one of the things, I was going to say three things, but it might not be three, Everett. I don't know how many there are, but what are things that we should think about if you're trying to get people to buy into your vision, right? It's a lot riding on those first few seconds that people come to you all the time, I'm sure. What normally gets your attention? What should we be thinking about?
First of all, it's 8 billion plus people in the world, and everybody got a damn idea. And most of those ideas ain't that good. Number one. Number two is, most people have ideas, and a lot of people don't have the follow through to make those dreams into a reality. Every single person sitting in this room has a dream. We have parents. How many of y'all talk to the man, on the corner, like, man, back in the day, I did this, that. You see, you feel me, right? And what are you doing? He's still on the corner, smoking a black and mild, doing the same shit he was doing 10, 20 years ago, right? Most people don't have the follow through that they need to actually accomplish their dreams. And that's really what separates the people that are going to be successful on a platform like Kickstarter. It's not just about the idea, it's about your follow through. It's about the grind. Like, this isn't easy. I tell anybody that want to do Kickstarter or crowdfund or build a business or do anything, it's not easy. And so if you're not prepared to make the sacrifices, to humble yourself, to reach out to people and say, hey, I got this idea, I want to make it happen, I need your support. That takes humility. And right now in this age of social media where everybody's trying to act like they got bread when they really broke and they struggling and all these things people trying to front, like, yeah, man, building a business is hard. And so the humility that it takes to do this, the hard work that it takes to do this, it's really a thing, man. And having a marketing strategy, having something we call product market fit. Product market fit means having a product out there in the market that people actually want, not just something that you think is cool, but people actually want it. I got a lot of ideas, and I'll be like, I'll tell some people, they'll be like, nah, that's not it. You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to go out there and really feel, make sure that the idea that you have is actually something that people want, and put in the time and have the marketing strategy and have the support, set the right goals. I could go on this forever, man.
I'll let Justin pick up where you left off. What things should we be thinking about as we try to get buy-in for our ideas?
Be very comfortable with delayed gratification. So, I meet a lot of entrepreneurs that want it today. And I don't know one successful entrepreneur who has built an enterprise who didn't take 10, 15, 20 years to get to that place. And the amount of sacrifice, the amount of delayed gratification that is necessary to make it to that level is something that I always look for. Like, are you going to be willing to turn down the party this weekend? Are you going to be willing to turn down, your girlfriend, pressing you on this one thing? Are you going to be able to turn down wanting to go on a vacation? I think those are the things that, put everything that Everette just said in context. But if this person is obsessed to the point where they will give up, the luxuries in life for that mission, is something that I look for.
Everette, I see you chuckling, man. What got you right there?
Nah, man, women. I was like, women, oh, that's hard, that's tough. I ain't gonna lie, but yeah, man, preach.
I got a story for you. I'll holler later. I'm going through some things.
don't get in trouble on the stage.
Right. But really, the discipline it takes, though. Talk about the sacrifice, right? Everybody is so popular. Anybody with a podcast mic will tell you, start a business, build your own, generational wealth. The part that they whisper is the sacrifice. Whether that's time with family, whether that might just be a season of time. How do y'all navigate that aspect of it as entrepreneurs in business?
I mean, Kyrie was just here. If you heard what he said about the amount of time that he's putting in the gym, into his craft and studying, okay? There's no difference in entrepreneurship, right? We just, as a culture, have always looked to that world as kind of the shining star, right? We haven't been taught that level of sacrifice, grind, and focus in other things. It's the same. It's exactly the same. So, I tell people all the time, like, there were years where I almost went bankrupt. I mean, it is not sexy for a very, very long time. And it's the same thing in sports. It's the same thing in any craft that you're putting your all into.
I was just going to say, for the young people in the room, start as early as possible. Like, when you got a family and kids and a wife and the whole situation, that sacrifice becomes harder and harder and harder, right? Like, there's bills to be paid, there's people to be taken care of. And so I started my first company when I was 19 years old, you know what I mean? Like, it'll be a lot different if I did that now at 35, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm comfortable, you know what I mean? You get comfortable, man, and so the younger you do it, man, it's better. But there's no age which you can't pursue, man. There's people who are becoming multimillionaires in their 70s, 80s, et cetera, et cetera. There's never no age where you can't pursue it, but the younger you are, it's definitely an advantage for sure.
Well, you can enjoy the money, that's for sure.
There's something you're gonna ask something. There's something that you said earlier that has been a recurring theme today, even with Quincy Hall's conversation with Louis Carr. You are able to find opportunities and challenges. You talked about COVID, and that actually presented a money-making opportunity.
Yeah.
When a lot of us were reshifting and reconfiguring our lives. But there's a gift in seeing lack or a downturn as an opportunity to make bread. How can we get our minds in that space?
A mentor of mine, this is a saying she used to ingrain in me all the time. Chaos brings opportunity. And, I have that literally written in my office. Chaos brings opportunity, because when you are an entrepreneur, you are constantly fighting chaos and fires. And if you can reset your mindset to think about that chaotic experience as an opportunity for you to get better, learn from it, improve your business, improve your staff, whatever it might be, it always will lend itself to being stronger in the future. So I remember very vividly March 13th, 2020, shutting down my entire business, like freaking out, thinking about what am I going to do? And I literally walked outside, came back inside and said, what am I freaking out about? I built a telemedicine platform. This is the adoption moment that I've been waiting for the last 15 years. I called my whole staff on a call. I said, order as many laptops we can get our hands from, get them into our buildings, and get everyone onto the platform immediately. It took us about, a few weeks, and then we started to see record week over week adoption. And, to this point, the company has never gone back. I think now it's probably to this day 80% virtual, and it will never have a brick and mortar presence like it did in the past.
Wow. Give it up for that. Give it up for that.
Everett, to add on to that, actually, I'll challenge you to, as you're looking at trends, what are you thinking about 15 years from now that is informing some of the business decisions that you're making today that maybe we should be thinking about as well?
Well, first, I want to touch on something that Justin just touched on. Like, timing is everything. No one can predict a global pandemic. When this was happening, I was at a company called Artsy, which is the largest online art company in the world. And like, people were sitting in their homes and they were like bored and they're looking around their house and they're like, man, I need some art. So we had record breaking numbers, like so many e-commerce, digital brands, et cetera, had record breaking years during COVID, during this pandemic. So you never know what's happening. I know cats that were working on AI companies for the past 10 years. And then all of a sudden people were like, we care about AI. And now they have multi-billion-dollar valuations, right? So some of this stuff is not just having the right idea, but it's having the right timing on these things. I think as a CEO, the best I can do is just be prepared for anything, right? Like you don't know what's going to happen in the world. You don't know if a pandemic is going to hit or AI is going to become big or social. Like no one was predicting the social media boom 30 years ago. You know what I mean? So the world can change. So you could try to be as prepared as possible, but it's just all about being able to be nimble and be willing to learn, man. Like you can't be, those people. I remember when social media started becoming a thing, and then some people were like, man, I don't want to mess with that. That social media stuff, blah blah blah. It was like, all right, bro. Like a lot of people got breaded up off of social media. Same thing with AI. People like, oh, ChatGPT. Like I don't want to deal with this stuff. It's like, bro, you better learn this AI game. Like this is you got to be prepared. So you got to be able to pivot, man. Like you got to be able to, be nimble and move and just be prepared and watch the signals of the things that are happening, right? Like, listen, like China is becoming a superpower. If you can speak Mandarin, bro, bag is crazy. Like there's so many different things.
I gotta learn Mandarin.
I'm just saying, like just watching the trends. I'm not learning. I'm still trying to figure out the Spanish thing, on Duolingo. But I'm just saying, be constantly learning. Constantly learning, constantly curious, and then also be willing to be nimble and never be the guy, what I'm saying? Like right now when you're young, you don't want to turn into that guy 20 years from now that's like, oh man, I don't want to deal with that. Because, there's always going to be new opportunities and technologies and things.
So we go ahead.
The only piece I would add to that is persistence with the main vision. Like he talked about pivoting, right? You have to be so obsessed with that main vision to understand, you know what? I may need to pivot today to pay the bills, right? But that main vision, that goal, I'm never turning away from it. To me, it was to get mental health into the hands of every American, regardless of their socioeconomic class, race, religion, or creed. So there were some years I had to change the business and try to do different service lines, right? But that main vision remained the same, and I was persistent in the timing. So to his point, entrepreneurs historically are extremely persistent individuals, and their follow-through game is ridiculous.
his watch is ridiculous too. I'm like saying this joint is spinning. I'm like, what is that?
Says the guy with the AP on.
Oh, he got an AP on, but that's different. That's different. That's different. But the one last thing I will say is like you can have these, like you can do both. One of the things when I came into Kickstarter, we're a public benefit corporation, so we do a lot of good in the world. But I say, listen, we can do good in the world and make money. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to choose one or the other. Like in his space, in the mental health space, for a very long time, it was like, you ain't gonna make no money in that, right? And that's like a very, a great thing to pursue. But like, for me, it's all about scale. For me, it's all about figuring out how I can make as much impact in the world and still be on my fly shit. Like, I still like fashion. I like art. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like doing dope stuff. So, like, I want to be able to make an impact, but at the same time, get to the bag. And you can do both. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't.
Come on now. Kind of quality drive. Yes.
How important is it for you to be your authentic self in these spaces? Because I know you guys are around mad high earners like yourselves, and you still like fly shit. You got that shit on right now. You know what I mean? Like, I
like being around rich people like that.
And y'all are unapologetically yourselves. And I think that when some people think about these spaces in corporate America, they have this vision that you have to compartmentalize yourself and change who you are. But you guys show up exactly as two different representations, authentic, real representations of black men. Well, three, if I include myself on this stage.
Okay, now.
But like, can you talk about how important that is? Like,
yeah, man, I think, you've always got to be comfortable in your own skin. So, I can switch when necessary,
yeah.
But I always know myself, right? I was known to drive to large health insurance meetings, with hip hop on in the parking lot, and they knew I was there. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be myself regardless. I'm always going to have a little bit of drip, right? But it's always never over the top.
Mm-hmm. A lot. That's how I watch the building. Yeah.
I don't need to show more than that, but that's just who I am. You know what I mean? So I think you all have to be comfortable in yourself. And as an entrepreneur, you are on an island. Yeah. A lot of the time. You have a team, but you are on an island, and you have to be very comfortable in yourself.
I mean, imagine living your life not as yourself every day. That seems whack to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? That seems like I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I was doing an interview earlier, and people, before they meet me, I feel like people would expect me to be like, "Hi, I'm Everette Taylor." See, you don't get like, nah, bro, I'm from the hood. Like, I'm just a regular dude, and I want to stay myself. I remember being like in the 5th, 6th grade or something like that, and I saw 50 Cent. And it was a little bit older. 50 Cent, and he was walking in boardrooms with like tank tops, chains, do-rags, the whole thing. And I was like, yo, that's wild, bro. But what I didn't realize at the time is like, when you drive value, when you can help make people money and make money for yourself, you're going to demand that respect, and you can show up any which way you want to. You know what I mean? For me, I'm not going to sacrifice who I am on a daily basis, because who I am is what makes me great. You know what I'm saying? Being different. You know what I'm saying? Being a 30-something-year-old black CEO makes me different from my counterparts. You know what I mean? So I lean into my differences. I lean into what makes me unique. And at the end of the day, I'm good at what I do. You know what I mean? I know how to drive results, and if you're good at what you do and you lean into that, you can be anybody you want to be. At the end of the day, just be a good person.
Come on now. Absolutely, man. So bring some noise for Everette Taylor. Come on now. And Justin Bayless. That last one, really quickly. I love asking this. This is just a quick answer question. I love asking panelists, what's one book that you recommend? I know what your answer is going to be, Justin. Everett, do you have one as well? What's one book that you say that we should pick up and download today?
You go ahead. You go first on that
one. One book that I think...
I got one.
Oh, you got one? Okay.
Think and Grow Rich, A Black Approach.
The Black Approach. The Dennis Kimbrough version. That's a good one. Everett, you got one?
I think I would say it's this book that Jack Whitten wrote, Notes from the Woodshed. Jack Whitten is like a really famous black artist. He passed away recently. And like, you just see the mind of like someone that's like ultra creative, and it's inspiring in the way he looked at the world. Like, Who I'm inspired by? I'm not inspired by businessmen. I'm inspired by creatives. I'm inspired by people in the arts, like comedians, art,
Come on now.
musicians.
Come on now.
Like that's my bag. That's what gets me going. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just in Paris. Like I love Paris because it's like that's just my vibe. The fashion, the music, the culture. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, Jack Whitten as an artist was an extraordinary person, you know what I'm saying? And this is a guy who was working for decades without the recognition that he deserved, you know what I mean? And you talked about the delayed gratification, like he personifies that. But to me, he stood for just being yourself and seeing the world the way that he saw it and doing things his way. And I think it's just a dope book to read, for sure.
Well, what do they say? Creatives are the new athletes.
Yeah, bro, and they get in the bag too. Trust me.
Coming down a little
And
bit.
this is what you need right here. The Journey to 10 Figures, a guide for the dark horse entrepreneur. Y'all make some noise, please, for Justin Bayless and Everette Taylor.
Come on, y'all. So make some noise.